Hi, I'm Mrs. Parent from Beardsley Library, and I hope that you were one of the young people that joined me for story time today. It was so wonderful to be able to sing with everyone and read a story live to you. And hopefully we can do that again in the future. So we read a story about a moose looking for a moose and some children that were going through the forest trying to find this moose that was hiding in plain sight. So we have a couple different crafts that you could do. One that just would stop at the moose, one that we are going to make a moose wreath for your front door. So let me show you. This is our first moose that we can make. It's a little puppet. You can have it on a popsicle stick or tongue depressor or even a paint stick from the hardware store. So this moose you can use for your playtime if you're having a puppet show, or you can hide this moose just like the moose was hiding in this book. You can hide this moose around your house and have people find it. That would be a fun game to play on these rainy days. And the second moose craft is to make the same moose, but we have it glued to a paper plate that we have painted to look like brush from the forest. So there's a couple different colored paints here, and we glued our moose to it so you can hang this from a ribbon on your front door. And this moose looks like he's peeking out through the bushes. All right, so let's get started. So we'll start with this one just because we want the paint to dry. So let me just show you what you're going to need to make both of these crafts. You're going to need scissors and a glue stick. Tongue depressor if you want to make your moose puppet. You need a black marker, a scrap of black, a scrap of white, and a piece of brown paper, construction paper or cardstock. And you don't even need it this big. You can use two pieces of brown paper, or you can make your moose any color that you want. So this would be for the first moose and the second moose, except for the popsicle stick. For the second moose though, if you're going to paint a paper plate, then you're going to need your paper plate, and you're going to punch 2 holes in it for the ribbon that we're going to hang for our front door. So then you would need a piece of ribbon. And you should get a newspaper to do this craft on so you don't get paint all over your table. And I've got 2 colors of green paint. For the forest, you can use one color, or if you want to mix your colors, whatever you want. And then you're going to need a sponge and another plate to put your paints on. So let's just start with painting so that we can have our paints dry before we glue our little moose onto him. So here we go. We've got our paper plate and our sponge with our colors. And we want to paint, sponge paint all around the top. You could leave the bottom right here without paint on it, because that is where we're going to glue on, or double stick tape if you prefer, our little moose. So we just start with dabbing our paint with a sponge and start sponge painting. This is kind of the fun part. I kind of like messy paints. This is good to do. If you have a smock or anything to put on over this, over your good clothes, or if you have an old shirt to put on, that would probably make your caregiver happy. So if you dab it on lightly, it gives the effect that there's sunlight coming through the branches and the leaves in the forest. So you want to do the edges a little more, you can do that. It's totally up to you how you want to have this background speckled and spackled. And so then I'm going to turn it over and use my other color paint to give it a little bit of depth and dimension. It's fun to have 2 tones if you have it. If you don't, once it dries, you can always go over certain areas with a different color marker. You can even use brown to make it look like you have branches in your bushes. So here we go. Here's our painted paper plate, and we're going to set that aside to dry. And then we'll get started on our little moose. All right, so if you have a big piece of paper like this, oops, I got paint on me. You're going to fold it in half. This is like 12 by 12 square, but yes, you can do any size that you want. And then fold it in half again. This will help you with the antlers and its face. We're going to cut ovals. See, this is one oval for the nose and muzzle and one oval for the head. And there's ovals for the nostrils. And on this one, I did ovals for the eyes. This guy had circles, but this guy had ovals for the eyes. So this is an oval day. So you want to just fold it in half and in quarters just to give you also help in knowing how far to make your oval. So we can cut this oval out right up to this line and down. So if you have trouble doing scissors, then have somebody, a grown-up that's with you, help you cut this out, okay? So let's cut our 2 ovals because we have this folded in half, because one's going to be the head and one is going to be his muzzle that holds his nose and his mouth. So a circle is completely round. You'll see an oval. It's kind of like a squish circle. So these would go on together like this. This will be the first part of our head to our moose. So I'm going to just cut off this section here, because the next thing that we want to do, see, we again have a double piece here. There we go. Is we want to cut the antlers for him. So if you start at this edge right here that's open, and you start right at the bottom, you could start with just making a slit like this. I'll get a little closer. And then we do is go up for one of the tines. These are called tines, these little bumps that are coming out of his antlers. And then let's go down and then back up for another one of the tines. And then cut back down. And then we're going to swoop up really high for the biggest tine, which is on the very end of his antler. And so then come down where the fold is. And so then we're going to go back to where we started. And kind of make a little bit of a dip there. There we go. You could always pause the the video so you can slow down and make your antlers. So here is our muzzle, here is our head, and this is our antlers. And the antlers on moose, that stick straight out. If it was a deer, that would be on the tops of their heads like this, but this is a moose and their antlers like to stick out like this. So we're getting there. He's got his antlers, he's got his head, he's got his muzzle, or his nose, but now he needs some ears. So this other scrap that we used to cut out the ovals for his head, we're going to just cut out 2 pointy ears. If you start at the bottom and go to a point, and start at the point and go to the bottom, you have 2 little ears. So those will go right here, right under the antlers. Like that. So see, we have our moose ready, and all we have to do now is glue him together. So get your glue stick out. You can see it's just the top part of this that's going to get glued to the head piece, the head oval. So we'll glue this on like that, right at the bottom of that oval piece, and pat it down. Let's get our antlers. And we're going to put glue right at the ends of the square edge, right here, and some glue right here. You want to have enough so that it will stick well when you're playing with your puppet. And then just slide it under and slide it under, and so they stick straight out. Pat it down. Okay, here's our ears. And their ears hang low. They like to hang down. So we're going to just slide those under the head and the antler. And slide this one under the head and the antler. That is great. Look at him. He's getting ready. So he can either be your puppet, which you would then tape a popsicle stick or a tongue depressor to the back, or he can be part of your wreath. So let's get his face on him now. If you want to, you can draw on his nose, so his little nostrils. But we will just take our scrap of black, fold it in half, and just cut long ovals. This is his nostrils that will help him breathe. Okay, so this is like a long, squishy oval, or you can just draw them on. So these are going to go here, and then he needs some eyes. So we can make either the oval eyes or the round ones. Since we're doing a lot of oval stuff, let's try to do some oval eyes for him. Again, those are like flattened out circles. So we're going to take that piece of white scrap cardstock or construction paper, fold it in half so we can make two eyes at the same time. So here's his eyes. He's got big eyes, doesn't he? All right, so now let's glue those down. So put glue all over the eye, put that back on his head, and put glue all over this eye, and back on his head. So you want to pat those down too. Let's get his nostrils on so he can breathe. And then we'll be able to draw on the center of his eyes and draw on his mouth. And anything else that you want your little moose to have. So there he is. So take your marker and you can draw circles. This little guy I have looking off to this side, this guy that was on the wreath is just looking straight ahead at whoever is coming to the house. So let's just draw some circles here and color them in. And another circle here and color it in. So there, now he can see us, he can hear us, he can sniff, but let's draw a little smile. This little guy's got a little half smile on. This one's got a little tiny smile. So every which way you want to do it. So he's going to have a little tiny smile too. There, look at our moose. See how fast that was done with all these ovals and antlers and ears. So then if you want, remember you can tape this on the back. Or we will get our pretty wreath that we started making. Oh wow, that dried fast. So let's make another wreath. We're going to turn him over and put a lot of glue kind of in the middle of this moose's head, and a little bit on across his where the antlers are attached, because most of it does hang off the wreath. All right, so then we will take this off of here and put this on. You want it to kind of match up to where you put the holes for your ribbon. So we kind of push it down so it will stay on here nice. And look at him. There he is. So now we have another little moose that we put on our front door to greet everybody with a happy smile when they come in our home. You just have to attach the ribbon through the holes and you're done. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed this craft, had a lot of fun seeing you, and I hope you join me again next week. You have a wonderful, wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye. I miss everybody.